Welcome to Holographic Health Insights, the podcast where science meets soul for complete well-being. Join hosts Reverend Anne-Marie Byers and her daughter Rochelle Generis as they explore transformative health approaches that integrate body, mind, and spirit, from energy medicine to holistic practices.
Could hidden parasites and fungal imbalances be affecting more than just your gut? In this episode, Anne-Marie and Rochelle uncover how these invaders can influence everything from your skin to your energy levels and what you can do about it. Welcome back, everybody. Skip Monty, co-host / producer, back here in the studio with owners of Holographic Health, Inc., Reverend Anne-Marie Byers and Rochelle Generis. Anne-Marie, Rochelle, how are y'all doing today?
Wonderful. How about you, Skip?
I'm doing just fine. It's Friday. I'm excited. Was everybody's waiting for the weekend? That's old. That's older than you, Rochelle.
Oldie but goodie. Sure. I've heard
that. That's right. So in our last episode, you guys touched on parasites and fungus and how that affects your health. So I thought, why not ask the question, how do parasites and fungus impact your skin and overall health, and yeast as well?
Well, I grew up on a farm, and so dealing with parasites and things like that were a normal occurrence. You know, parasites live in dirt. Animals bring parasites in. We're used to deworming our animals now, but we need to think about ourselves also. In some cultures, parasites are a very significant problem. They live in water, they live in dirt, they live in various things. And here, you know, our water is treated. We don't have to worry about that. But especially if you have animals and or you're living on a farm or something like that, you will encounter parasites at some point in time. And so we have a product called Paranorm that we use for this purpose. And sometimes we have people who give it to their dogs. We've had dogs actually get into somebody's package and eat the whole bottle. These are herbal formulas for that. We have some people that just buy these and take them routinely when they eat out, when they're in certain situations. So it's a good preventative as well as a treatment for when you have an issue with parasites. Fungus and candida yeast can be a real problem, especially with skin. We've had people with infections of this type that has wreaked havoc in the skin, in the body. And so we have a product called Fungal Balance that can help address this. We also have our Hollow Silver that people can use topically on a toenail fungus. We have another product that is called Nail Well for your nails. And this can help with all of those issues. Candida can be an infection, candida or yeast. There are various strains of this. And it can get in the gut. It can get on the skin, in the skin. I've seen people with very severe infections of the fungus / yeast variety. And we used a combination of our muscle testing to find the specific strain that we're talking about and use a method to antidote that and try to bring that down to, have it push out. A good thing to remember, though, is if you have an infection on the skin, that's not as bad as one buried deep in the body. That means the body is pushing it out. It can be very uncomfortable. It can look very severe. But you actually do not want to use a cream that pushes that back into the body, because then it can go deeper and cause worse problems with the organs and glands, etc. So sometimes I have learned that yeast and fungus can be a precursor to cancer. And so sometimes if you have a yeast infection, you really need to work on that. Cut out sugar. Watch what kind of food you're eating that will feed these kinds of bugs. So cutting out sugar, cutting out carbs that cause the yeast to overgrow or bacteria to overgrow, and certain diets specifically for candida and yeast. So you want to eliminate the food that they are eating so that you can then push them out of the body. So these are all a bigger problem these days than most people realize. When I was growing up, it was normal. We knew about parasites and yeast and that kind of thing. And we were eating more fresh food. We were getting outside more, getting more fresh exercise, more sun. And, these things like to live in dark environments and love sugar and simple carbs. And those are things you really want to avoid when you're trying to eliminate any of these from your diet and your body.
You can also, well, my mom always used to tell me, she grew up on a farm too, that, if you eat a lot of meat, pork particularly, that there's parasites you can get if it's undercooked, right?
That is correct. So if you do eat meat, you have to make sure and cook it very well done, whether you like it or not, especially pork. And, the trichinosis is a real thing. And there are parasites in most meat, so you have to really be aware of that. You can also have parasites on your vegetables and fruits. So we've talked about eating organic. You still need to do that. You cannot wash off pesticides. You can wash off your parasites, though. And so you really do need to wash them for at least, I believe, 60 to 90 seconds. You want to rinse them for a long period of time to make sure that you rinse off anything that is attached to that. And I remember reading in Dr. William Lee's book that you can get most of the parasites and things that you don't want to eat by rinsing your vegetables very well. There are washes for that, but that will not wash off pesticides anymore. But you can wash off your little critters.
Well, speaking of critters, what are some common signs that parasites, fungus, or yeast are affecting your body or system?
Well, itching, especially, you can have skin eruptions that are yeast or parasitic related. Sometimes tumors are actually parasite infections. So you may have to have something like that removed to know that that's the case. But itching, especially in the anal area, can either be a sign of hemorrhoids or it could be a parasite infection. So you may have to have that diagnosed or try taking some Paranorm for a while and using our Hemorrhonorm to see if that clears up the condition. And if not, then you may want to see your physician and get a better diagnosis.
So, besides your supplements, which are targeting this stuff, what's the first steps that somebody needs to take to begin like a natural cleanse?
It really is. Well, food is your first medicine. We say that a lot. Hippocrates said it, and we believe that today. Eating a good diet is extremely important, whether you're trying to fight off an infection like this or whether you're just trying to stay healthy. And cutting out sugar is the first thing I would tell somebody to do to stay healthy and especially to work on some type of yeast or parasitic infection because that is going to feed anything like this. And so eliminating refined sugar, cutting down on your carbs, cutting down on dairy products. Dairy feeds yeast. And so dairy of any type, cheese, milk, etc. There's so many good coconut and nut milks today that can replace the regular cow milk. And so switching to something like that, using stevia or a natural xylitol is good for the teeth. You don't want to overdo xylitol, though, internally. But using something like that, if you really need some type of sweetener for coffee or something like that, doing something natural that won't feed the yeast. Now, honey and maple syrup are wonderful natural sweeteners, but they are still sugars. They are metabolized differently, and the agave are all better sweeteners than refined sugar. So they're good substitutes. However, if you have some type of parasitic or especially a yeast/candida infection, you want to avoid all sugars. You want to cut back on carbs, beans, anything like that that feed the yeast. So there are diets out there like Wall's diet, WAHL''S, that talk about how you can. It is very restrictive. I've done it before because sugars that feed yeast and candida feed cancers. So I have done this diet before, but it's eating a lot of vegetables, drinking plenty of good water, making sure that you really cut back on and cut out dairy, cut out sugar, cut back severely on carbs in general. Eat a lot of roughage because that will help to process out all of these toxins that are created from parasites or yeast. And your skin and your body will be much happier. I have worked with people with severe candida or yeast infections, parasitic infections, and you can usually see it in the skin. The skin is the first organ to show these. It's also the first organ to improve. And you can look at the health of somebody usually through their skin. So a lot of water, watching your diet, a lot of roughage, a lot of organic vegetables and fruits. And
Is honey off the list for the Walls diet?
it really is because it's also a sugar. Now, if you need to do some type of sweetener at all and it's not xylitol or monk fruit, something like that, those are the best. Honey would be the best of the sweeteners to do a little bit of. But any of that is going to feed yeast.
Very good. Rochelle, I feel like we've just left you totally out here. Do you have
I'm
anything to
learning
add?
too. I'm still learning.
Okay.
I did want to say something that kind of supports what Anne has said. Our muscle testing system can often identify and pinpoint the specific candida or yeast or parasite that someone is dealing with. If you call our center, we have practitioners that we have trained across the nation. So if you call our center, we may be able to pair you with somebody in your area or close by if you're not local to the East Tennessee area. Lots of support to go around.
Or I can always do a Zoom or a telephone consult if there's nobody local. That's not a problem either.
Awesome. Well, ladies, this has been a very informative episode, and I'm disappointed that honey's considered sugar, but that's okay. I don't need it anyway.
It's one of the best sugars you can eat, though. It's a natural antibiotic. A local honey is really good for allergies. So if you're not plagued with candida or something like that, some good local honey is a good food.
I feel better now. Thank you. I'll put it in my coffee. That's delicious. I love it. Well, ladies, thank you. Love it. We'll catch you in the next episode.
Thanks so much, Skip.
Y'all have a great rest of the day.
You too.
Thanks for joining us on Holographic Health Insights. If you're ready to dive deeper into transformative health approaches, visit holographichealth.com or give us a call at 800-566-1522. Remember, your journey to total well-being starts here.